I'm here today at the South Keswick Solar Hub, and I've got Murray with me, works for ENcome, and they've got the maintenance contract for this particular solar farm, and it's actually owned by Neoen. And so Murray, we had a bit of a look around this morning, and it's fascinating looking at solar panels in operation. So what area have you got covered here?
Yeah, we've got about 55 hectares, and it's just short of, there's about 55,000 solar panels on this site, which is pretty impressive.
What output are you getting out of the Dubbo one here?
We're getting about 18,000 kilowatt.
Yep, so 18 megawatts. And these track with the sun, so at the moment they're pointing, obviously in the east, it's early in the morning, so they're pointing there ready, and then they track across the horizon as the sun goes across.
Yeah, that's right. It's a predetermined set point, so from about 10:30, they'll start tracking about 1 to 3 degrees, about every 12 to 15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Until the end of the day.
Okay, and you've got some sheep, and I'll take some images of the sheep in a minute, but you've got some sheep grazing around here at the moment, and that's something fairly new. How long have you had the sheep grazing underneath them?
Yeah, we introduced the sheep just before Christmas. On our other sites, we've had sheep on for quite a while. The sheep are in to keep the vegetation down, and we're putting a rural fence in to keep the sheep off the tree line when that's developed. So,
okay, so the sheep, how many sheep have you got here at the moment?
There's about 160.
Right,
yeah.
and presumably it could handle more than that if we had a bit more rain, and obviously the idea is you don't want to have too many sheep on there if you haven't got enough grass, but you want to have enough sheep to keep the grass down.
Yeah, that's right, and with one of the local farmers, it could be, at the moment, it is the leaseholder or the landowner of the land that the solar farm's leased from. He's provided sheep, and it's at no cost to him.
Yeah, wow. So he's getting free grazing from that. So that's good for him.
Yeah, and at the moment, like he's pretty good because he's got water next door, so he provides water and that. He maintains the sheep. Yep. It's no liability to the solar farm.
Okay.
And he's got access to the site to come and maintain the sheep. So
right.
it works in pretty good for each other, and it's on a needs-be basis.
So one of the other interesting aspects that I've heard from some people talking about solar farms elsewhere is whether or not you get too much runoff, because you've obviously got a part of the ground that isn't being hit with rain when it does rain occasionally. It actually rained last night, but it's been a bit rare rain lately. Is there any impact that you see there where water does run off the panels and then create too much runoff in a certain, almost create a mini little creek in front of the row of solar panels?
At this stage, I haven't seen that. It probably with dew and stuff like that, it probably creates more of a green area for vegetation to grow, but nothing, no sort of culverts or anything like that, no indentation of the land underneath. So.
And so no significant runoff presumably as well.
Yeah.
How long has this farm been up in operation?
We took over the operation back in July. Right. It was fully commissioned back in July 2018. Yep. The site, I think, was completed at the end of 2017, but all the commissioning and different things, different phases and implementations and developments went through. Sort of took that extra 6 months to get it fully operational.
Yeah. That's good. Thanks for showing me around this morning. And
not a problem.
It's fascinating to see a solar farm here in operation and right on Dubbo's doorstep.
No worries. The owners are quite happy for anyone to come out and have a look. And as it grows and as it becomes more aware of people, so we want to have sort of education and things like that. So different schools and things like that want to come out and have a look. So happy to do.
Yeah. Right, thanks, Murray. Appreciate your time this morning.
All the best.
Thanks. Here's the view across the entire solar farm. That's the entire 55 hectares of solar farm here on Dubbo's doorstep. As we look down one table of panels, you can see there Murray mentioned a slightly green patch. You can just see down there a slightly greener patch where there's obviously a little bit of water or extra water that hits the ground, or water from dew, but again you can see there's no real trench or gully there where water's hitting it at such great impact. It's just probably a little bit more water in that green patch, a little bit less where the actual supports go into the ground. I spoke before about the sheep grazing around the solar panels, and you can see here some sheep, and these panels are at the extreme angle facing towards the east at the moment. They change their direction as the sun goes across during the day, but you can see there the sheep are quite happy to graze around there and run away from me, but they're quite happy to graze around underneath there. They go underneath those panels fairly easily, and they're quite happy to keep the grass down. As you can see there, the grass is kept down to a fairly reasonable level. So it seems to be something that works quite well from a farmer, and these sheep are on here grazing at no cost to the farmer, and obviously works well for the solar operator in that it keeps the grass down in amongst all the solar panels. The spacing of the panels is an issue that people often talk about in terms of how much actual land coverage is taken up by the panels. And to give you a bit of an idea, each of those panels in their actual height is just under 2 metres, about 1.95 metres tall. And then if you look at the actual supports and the rows that you've got there, each row is centred 6 metres apart. So at the actual maximum surface area taken up when the panels are flat at midday, then you've got just under 2 metres out of 6 metres. So you've got about 30% as a rough calculation that's actually got area covered of the solar panels out of the total land area. So Murray, we're looking here from the west side of the solar farm. That's looking over essentially the entire solar farm there.
Yes.
If we go a bit higher there, you can see down to the extreme end there. Now that's all farmland still owned by the same owner. They lease that out to the particular operator there. So all that farmland is still useful, as we talk about there, for sheep, but presumably one day in the future, if need be, that can all be used for farming again.
That's right, yeah, we return back as when it was first leased.
Yeah. Now what happens at the end of the lease time, for example, if they decide, the operators decide they don't wish to continue on doing that, part of their approval, I assume, was to actually remove all those solar panels out of the ground?
Correct, yeah. It's to put the land back to the way that they found it. So if the landowner doesn't want to purchase, might be an option there to purchase a solar farm as it is, and then they can take on any of the maintenance and production costs.
Yep. Now the useful life of a solar panel, they talk about being 20 years to 25 years, but that's the useful life at more or less maximum production, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So it doesn't mean the production stops immediately once you reach that time frame.
No.
And there's also the option, obviously, as solar panels become more efficient, to go along and actually replace some of the solar panels.
Correct.
As we go down there. So the parcel of land that we see there pretty much goes to the edges, a bit of space around the edges there where the owner owns that particular land. And I did notice down here there's a little patch that we can just see there, more at the centre of the screen. I'll come down a bit closer to it there. So what's that little patch there where there's no solar panels?
There's just a little artefact area there that the traditional owners pinpointed an area there, so we've just kept that vacant and signposted that area too, so no development or no digging goes on there.
Right, and that's an area that then will stay protected, obviously.
Correct.
And that was part of the environmental impact statement that you had to prepare, or that the owners had to prepare for this particular site?
That's right.
Okay, I'll go down a bit further and we'll turn around, because obviously they're facing away from us at the moment, given the fact that the sun's obviously rising in the east, or has risen in the east, then obviously that will come back, and the panels are facing the other direction at the moment. We'll come back and face those panels, because they probably look a bit more impressive when you see the face of the panels rather than the backs of the panels, which is what we're seeing now. You can probably see, as I go down a bit further, I'll just go down and look over the top of them, because I think that's quite interesting too, to see that actual area that's taken up. So we'll just turn around here. And I'll go out a bit further here, and what we'll do is I'll just look straight down over the panels, and that'll give us an idea of the view we have in terms of how much is actually taken up with them. We'll just face the camera down. And as we talked about there, you can see there's not a huge amount. It's about that 30%, I think, is a fairly good estimation there of the amount of actual land space that's taken up. Now again, that's a little bit misleading at the moment because the panels are at an angle.
Yeah.
If you can imagine those panels were flat, then that would give that indication of about that 2 metres, just under 2 metres per 6 metres. Pick up again. You've got a quarry next door there. A fairly big operation there with that quarry. And we come back down to where we are down here. In cleaning, these are just cleaned naturally. Have you ever had to go and get them actually cleaned?
At this stage, nature's taking care of that for us, which is quite good. We stay the panels at about 26 degrees
Right.
to the west
Yep.
to try and capture any natural drainage, obviously the rain, or any dew points.
And that's been, even without the rain or lack of rain we've had lately and some of the dust storms, etc. we've had, still haven't actually had them manually cleaned.
Still no manual clean.
Yeah, right. There we go, there's the whole solar farm. Right out. Thanks for the view.
No problem.